Now. Yeah. Hope it still works. They've targeted us! Everybody get in the cover! Go! Go, go, go! What are you doing?
Saving our footage. Go!
Run!
Almost there.
Gotta go.
Come on!
Come on!
Get out! Come on, come on! We're not gonna make it!
Get the hell out of there!
That was a scene from 5 Days of War, a new international thriller from acclaimed director Renny Harlin, inspired by the 5-day war between Russia and the Georgia Republic in 2008. Renny joins us here this morning. Good to see you, Renny.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Why did you tackle this subject matter 3 years on after the war?
Well, this was a very unique situation, completely different from wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Here's a country of Georgia, which is a poster child for the kind of democracy America wants to promote in the world. They are one of the oldest Christianities in the world, thriving economy, beautiful Mediterranean country, about to join NATO. Americans are building a pipeline there. And this didn't sit well with Russia. And on the first day of the Olympics in 2008, Russia invades the country. The reason that the invasion happened during the Olympics was to keep the world press occupied with the Olympics and the 12-year-old girl lip-syncing and news like that, instead of telling the world about this war. And I felt that it was time to tell the world about what happened there and what kind of abuse the civilians went through.
And you tell the story in an interesting way because you do it through journalists. Why did you choose that method?
I went to Georgia to research the movie less than a year after the war, and I met a lot of the journalists who had been there, and I heard about their frustration, and I realized this was the angle to really put this on a human level and really tell the audience what these unsung heroes go through. Because what was shocking to me is not only these people risk their lives to tell the story, but after that, even if they get the story, there's a lot of complications before that story comes out, and many times it doesn't, because the news cycle is so fast. And I come from Los Angeles. At least there I feel many times that when I'm watching the evening news, I see more stories about the freeway car chase or the liquor store robbery caught on tape than what's really happening in the world.
Wes?
I know you shot the movie in Georgia and actually used Georgian testimonies at the end of the film as a way to closing the film. What was the psychology like? Did you have any hesitation when people were saying, is it too new, is it too fresh? Were people excited about this kind of project?
When I went to the country and I saw the physical scars on people and the tears in their eyes and the frustration that they were going through, not being able to tell their stories, I went on a mission. I was so passionate about this project. And the same thing with the whole cast and crew. This was not a Hollywood project where we stay in five-star hotels. We slept on trains, in farmhouses, shared bathrooms, cooked our food in the kitchen together with the actors. It was a passion project for everybody, and seeing how thankful the Georgians were for the fact that we were telling the story really made it worthwhile.
In Putin and Medvedev's Russia, left uninhibited, I suspect they would be doing more of these sorts of interventions in the region, comparable to what they did in Georgia. What has been the reaction to the film in Moscow? Have you gotten any blowback?
I haven't had any real personal conversations with anybody there, but from the internet and from stories I've heard, the Russians are not happy with the movie, and it is not going to be distributed in Russia. So obviously, this type of a story is not exactly what they want to project.
Not a surprise there necessarily that they're not going to show it in Russia. There, among the many good reviews, there are some that say you present a one-sided version of the story, that all the Russians are bloodthirsty grizzlies, and that the Georgians are sort of fresh-faced victims in all of this. Do you worry about just telling one side of the story?
I think as an artist, you have to choose a point of view for your story. And my story is not pro-Georgian or pro-Russian. It's pro-truth. And I did a lot of research on EU and Human Rights Watch sites about the facts of this war. And I based it on the facts, and I stand by it.
You stand by the film. How does this fit in the scope of your career? You look at your resume, Die Hard 2. Got to give you props for Die Hard 2. Yeah. I suspect you and Bruce Willis were not sleeping on trains during the filming of that whole thing. Probably some more five-star hotels involved. How does this fit into your career arc, a sort of a more political movie like this?
I feel that my career of making action movies and thrillers really prepared me for this. And I came to a point where I was, I think, a little more mature, and I really had a need to tell a story that touches my heart and is about something. So while this is action-packed and dramatic and suspenseful, and there's even romance in it, it's about something important. And I think it's going to make people talk and think and participate.
And how has this film, if at all, shaped your impression of war, of the scars of war, of what the reality of war really is?
It blew my mind. I went to Georgia. I talked to refugees. There were tens of thousands of refugees who lost their homes. I went to hospitals. I saw videotape from the actual war because I was recreating a lot of scenes in the actual locations where it took place. It's senseless, it's barbarian. What especially, I think when we think of war, we tend to think of sort of Second World War movies where the Germans are shooting at the French and that's war. But what it is so much in today's world is it's civilians. It's bombs being dropped right where the civilians are. And this war lasted only 5 days, and 5 war journalists lost their lives.
Mm-hmm. There's a big debate in the geopolitical world about who we should be betting on. Should we be betting on the Saakashvilis, or should we be betting on our reset of relations with Medvedev in Russia? How does the Georgian president come off in your film, and what are your personal views of him, having done all this research now and made the movie?
I think he's an amazing man. He's educated in Harvard. He's not at all what people picture when they picture ex-Soviet countries' leaders. He's very forward-thinking. He is taking the economy of the country just skyrocketing forward. He loves culture. He loves architecture. I think those kind of leaders are the people that we should be supporting, and that's how we're going to promote democracy and forward momentum in the world. And of course, we need to have good relations with Russians as well.
Dan, where do you think we are on that question?
I think the U.S. government right now is tilting the scales in favor of Medvedev and Putin against, I mean, it's not deliberately against leaders like the government of Georgia, but certainly we have placed our bet with larger global powers at the expense of many of their regional partners who we have stood by in the past. And we've moved away from some of those smaller countries that are democracies, they're fledgling democracies with courageous leaders, and they are under siege, as captured clearly in this film, by Russia. And we have moved away from standing by those smaller countries, those smaller, small d democracies. I think it's a big mistake. I actually am excited about your film because I think it'll remind people sort of what's at stake, and I think the rise of Russia, the Medvedev-Putin era, is one of the great underreported stories of this period in global affairs, and hopefully this movie can shed some light on what's at stake.
And it's not a secret that Putin has said publicly that in his view the greatest geopolitical disaster of our century was the falling apart of Soviet Union. So he would like to bring all those little countries with oil and gold and minerals back into the fold.
Look, he faced an international backlash during that war in Georgia in 2008. And that's what I meant earlier when I said if left uninhibited. If he didn't deal with international backlash and didn't deal with international pressure, I suspect he would try to dominate a number of those former Soviet republics, much like he tried to do and actually is doing to some degree in Georgia today.
And he's still occupying the areas of South Ossetia and Abkhazia, which are part of Georgia, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Right.
Just to illustrate that to the audience, I'd like to compare if Mexico invaded California, I think we would do something about it.
Right.
On a slightly lighter note, Renny, your
lighter
name
than this?
came up.
This is like really light stuff.
I'm watching Curb Your Enthusiasm the other night.
That's
and
lighter.
I hear your name. Let's watch this clip.
You know Renny Harlin, director?
Oh, sure, director.
Used to be married to Gina Davis.
Yeah.
I was originally going to spend this next couple of months in New York doing this off-Broadway thing, but then I got Pandemonium. We're shooting it right across the street.
Just right across the street.
Yeah, it's based on the Hudson Brothers movie.
Right.
But Renny said, look, if you need a place in New York, it's on 66th and Broadway, beautiful place. Why don't I just let you have the place? He offered it to me. I had to say no.
He just want to give me his apartment?
It's sitting empty. He's going to be in Malta for the next 6 months.
Why would he offer it to me, though? I don't feel right about that.
You need a place to stay, Larry.
So surely you have some deep old relationship with Larry David.
We go way back. Yeah.
You didn't even know about this, did you?
No.
Learns about a morning show. It's unbelievable.
And doesn't live in New York.
I think the producers owe me a cameo.
They do. You should be on Curb Your Enthusiasm. All right, Renny, thank you so much. The film is 5 Days of War. It hits theaters tomorrow. Renny Harlin, thanks very much.